Alright, this weekend in the Championship didn't quite go as I'd predicted it, and especially down at the bottom of the Championship, things have got even more interesting. That's going to be the main focus of today's video, and as always I want to get your guys' thoughts on all of the matches that have taken place this weekend down below. Quick mention about what happened at the top end of the Championship as well. Leicester picking up that crucial win against West Brom. The Foxes definitely not at their best in that game and escaped with a few scares thanks to Hamza Chowdhury with a few goal line clearances, but they reclaimed their spot at the top of the Championship for the time being. Also massively boosted by Southampton losing against Cardiff as well. That was a massive win for Errol Bullock's side. But the main focus of today's video will be on the relegation zone because, like I say, things have got even more interesting with just 2 games to go. It's still all to play for. So on the back of the bonkers weekend of Championship action that we've just had, this is the state of play at the bottom of the Championship. With 2 games to play, the bottom 3 currently sits as Rotherham, Huddersfield and Birmingham. And with Birmingham and Huddersfield to play at the weekend, boy, that's going to be a tense match. We'll go through all of the games involving one of these sides in the relegation battle, and without any further ado, let's jump in. I think the natural place to start would be with Rotherham up against Birmingham. Most Blues fans and neutrals coming into this one saw it as a must-win game for Birmingham. You'll have seen last week on the channel I did my end-of-season Championship predictions for where I see each club finishing, and I did have Birmingham avoiding the drop, but that was based on the logic that they beat Rotherham in this fixture, and the fact they come out of this game having only mustered an XG of 0.42 and have only having 2 shots on target really paints a damning picture, because by drawing that game, I'm suddenly a whole lot less convinced about their credentials to survive this season. Now, it is worth pointing out that Birmingham's record on the road all season has been miserable. They've only picked up 13 points in away matches all season, which is the second worst record in the Championship. Only Rotherham have picked up fewer points on the road than Birmingham have, and Blues fans won't want to hear that sort of statistic going into what is a must-win game against Huddersfield at the weekend, which is away from home. For this goalless draw with Rotherham, I certainly think that the return of Steve Evans to Rotherham played a factor in this one. I think that whole home crowd was a lot more up for this game coming into it on the back of Evans' return, and gave them something a little bit more to look forward to perhaps for these final few matches, which otherwise would have just been dead rubbers had they sticked with Richardson. Like I was saying before about Birmingham's away record though, they've only won 3 matches away from home all season. They now go into a game against Huddersfield at the weekend needing to win. A draw won't cut it for Blues in that game, I don't think. And then with a final day showdown to come against Norwich at St Andrews, I really fear for Birmingham after this weekend. They needed to take advantage of that Rotherham fixture and they've not done so. The next game we have to touch on is Huddersfield losing 4-0 against Swansea. Felt like that was a bit of a must-win game for Huddersfield given their situation and the fact that Swansea didn't really have anything to play for coming into this match. But as soon as the first one went in the second half, that's when the floodgates seemed to open, and we have seen a few instances of that happening with Huddersfield this season when they've managed to keep games fairly tight until the first goal goes in. It was a very similar thing that happened to them when they came away to Preston a couple of weeks ago. As soon as that first goal went in, their entire back line just seemed to crumble. But fair play to Swansea for taking advantage. Now leaves Huddersfield in a situation where their survival chances are looking pretty grim. They need to beat Birmingham in their next match, and then they've got a final day showdown away at Ipswich Town. Ipswich will no doubt need a win in that game if they want to finish in the top 2, so that's a game where I wouldn't really fancy Huddersfield's chances in. It is worth pointing out that Huddersfield have only won 9 matches all season. From 44 games being played, that's an absolutely diabolical record. It is worth pointing out that all 3 sides that were relegated from the Championship last season all won more than 9 matches. And I know that Huddersfield still have a couple of games left where they could pick up potentially back-to-back wins, but I don't think anyone sees that happening. Given Birmingham have been so poor on the road all season, I still give them a fighting chance of getting something from that game, but if it's not all 3 points, then it will be lights out. I have been fancying them for the drop for a few weeks now, and I think that on the back of that performance, that sort of indicates it. Are there any optimistic Huddersfield fans out there who do think you'll turn it around from this stage? Let me know down below. Undoubtedly, the best result from a team at the bottom end of the Championship this weekend, though, was Sheffield Wednesday claiming all 3 points in a massive crunch match with Blackburn, which in the process really drags Blackburn back into this relegation scrap. Rovers were riding high on confidence off the back of that 1-0 win away at Ellen Road, but very much dragged back down to reality after that game from Sheffield Wednesday. Now, from a Wednesday perspective, what had been the damning thing for Danny Roll's side was how many draws they've had of late. They had been tricky to beat, but last time out against Stoke, it felt like a massive opportunity missed. But to finally climb outside of the relegation zone with just 2 games to go, and back-to-back games against West Brom and Sunderland, which are by no means a walk in the park, but West Brom have had a bit of a tail off late, and we all know that how strong Sheffield Wednesday can be at Hillsborough, and their final day showdown against Sunderland, who don't have anything to play for. It's crazy how quickly momentum can shift in the Championship, but suddenly I think a lot of people will be fancying the Owls to survive, which, given the state of affairs they were in when Danny Roll first inherited that squad, I mean, it's miracles being worked, isn't it? The context of this overall game was all a little bit mental. Josh Windass with a cracking strike to give Wednesday the lead. Sammy Smodics instantly replies for Blackburn Rovers before Sheffield Wednesday have a real good go of it in the second half. Absolutely gifted the third goal by that horrific mistake from Ainsley Pears, but that's that little bit of luck that sometimes you need to go your way at the bottom end of the Championship. And with how Wednesday have just stuck in there, have been plugging away even when things have gone against them, I've got to give them a massive pat on the back after that performance, because that's the sort of defining result which can keep you in the Championship. From a Blackburn Rovers perspective, I'm sure there's quite a few twitchy fans in and around Ewood Park right now, especially with back-to-back matches against Coventry and Leicester, which won't be easy by any stretch of the imagination. Now, they still have a 3-point buffer on the sides in the bottom 3, but, and what is quite crucial, if Blackburn lose against Coventry at the weekend and Birmingham beat Huddersfield, which is all very plausible, and Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday also pick up results, we could be in a situation where Blackburn find themselves in the bottom 3 with just 1 game to go. And if Rovers do find themselves in that situation, heading away to Leicester on the final day, that's not a situation that any football fan wants to find themselves in. It is still asking quite a bit, because there are still 2 sides between Blackburn and the bottom 3, but with the way the fixtures have worked out for those final 2 matches, things definitely could get a lot more tense there. Given all the results that went on in and around the bottom end of the Championship, it was a bit of a nightmare weekend for Plymouth in the end, losing 3-0 against Stoke, and with the likes of Birmingham and Sheffield Wednesday gaining some ground on them, it does leave them still well entrenched in this relegation battle with 2 games to go. Now, Stoke have been really quite hit and miss since Steven Schumacher came in. I think that would be a fair assessment to make, but in the prediction video from last week, I just had a gut feeling that Stoke would be up for this match. In the end, that proved to be the case, and lifting themselves to 50 points, that pretty much guarantees their survival in the Championship for another year. Credit to Schumacher for how he's manoeuvred these last few weeks, because there was one spell of his tenure where it seemed like he'd lost things, and it almost seemed as if he was just 1 or 2 losses away from getting the sack himself. But felt like that win away at Preston was a bit of a turning point in their season. For Plymouth, they're only 1 win away from securing their safety. They've got back-to-back matches now against Plymouth and then Hull City. For Plymouth, they are only 1 win away from securing their safety in the Championship. That game coming up at the weekend away at Millwall is going to be absolutely huge for them, because they need to have reaction. They can't show up like they did in that Stoke performance. We also saw QPR reaching that golden 50-point mark with all 3 points against Preston North End. Didn't have a good feeling coming into that game as a North End fan. Did have it down as a QPR win, and in the end, that's how things unfolded. North End with a decent chance in the early stages. Liam Miller with a very good opportunity, but hit it straight at the goalkeeper. And then after the point where QPR scored, I mean, North End offered next to nothing in that game, did we? Really disappointing showing from us, but QPR being professional enough to get the job done. A massive blunder for the goal we gave away. Freddie Woodman with an absolute nightmare. He won't want to be watching that goal back, with his butterfingers not being able to claim a cross. But QPR taking advantage of that and getting themselves up to 50 points should all but see them over the line, especially with two quite tricky matches to come for QPR. I think that match was highlighted as a bit of a must-win fixture for them. There has been this slide-off from QPR in the recent weeks, but restoring things against North End, getting to that 50-point mark. Given how QPR started this season, there should be a lot more positivity coming out of it with how Cifuentes has been able to turn things around. But with this being the state of play at the bottom end of the Championship with 2 games to go, who do you think is going down? Let me know in the comments down below.